This is
yes, he did write it.
That of all the things that we're talking about here, immunizations, vaccines, autism,
measles
the research
worse than 30 years.
about on communicable diseases, on cancer, and you are the most concerned about someone's use of the word people.
Yeah, because
that's the most important thing.
Because you were just complaining about the politicization of science,
That's
and
not politicization.
I can't think of politicization of science
that's
more
not
than that.
politicization.
Abby Phillip of CNN and a panel of guests went head-to-head with MAGA butthead Scott Jennings over the insane things that are going on at the CDC and with Robert Kennedy Jr. and the Trump administration and the war on vaccines. Scott Jennings is disingenuous at best, and this one even takes the cake for him. So why don't we take a look at these clips of Abby Phillip's show on CNN as she goes up against Scott Jennings and his sack of stupid. But let's check it out.
The direction that the country's public health is going is not one that is evidence-based or science-based, which is why our resignations are really together are trying to raise a red flag for everyone.
RFK Jr. came in knowing what he wanted the science to say.
Exactly.
And it sounds like from that official, what is happening is that he is making pronouncements and then finding things to back it up. I mean, this is stuff that affects real people's lives. Vaccines,
We're in National Immunization Awareness Month.
Immunizations, all this stuff.
I hear the
goodness
criticism
sake.
from this person. I just have to say, he did use the term pregnant people in his resignation.
Oh, come
letter.
on.
I'm sorry. If that is
that's
like,
a rude.
if that is like the way you're, if that is like the way you're presenting information, I have questions about your credibility.
Scott, it's so amazing.
It's not a ruse. He really wrote it down.
We are talking about
this guy's not credible to me. That's all I'm telling you.
Scott, are you serious?
Come on.
No, he is not credible.
No. Are you serious that this is
yes, he did write it.
That of all the things that we're talking about here, immunizations, vaccines, autism,
measles
the research
worse than 30 years.
about on communicable diseases, on cancer, and you are the most concerned about someone's use of the word people.
Yeah, because
that's the most important thing.
Because you were just complaining about the politicization of science,
that's
and I can't think of politicization of science more than that, or of what some of these people said to the American people during COVID. So the credibility of some of these folks who are complaining. Look.
Okay, so
I'm complaining, and I'm a public health and preventive medicine physician. We in the NAACP are complaining, right? And we are an iconic civil rights and human rights organization. There is reason to complain, Scott. You have a person who, during his confirmation hearings, said that black people had a different immune system, that we should follow a different immunization schedule. You have a person who has spent his life undermining science, credible science. The people who walked out of the CDC, the people who resigned, these are not flippant folks. These are not people who did this on the slight of a turn. These are people who dedicated their livelihoods, who dedicated their hearts and their expertise to safeguarding the health of all Americans. And now we are compromised, not just from a health and well-being standpoint, but from a national security standpoint. What's going to happen when the next outbreak
let me just real quick play this, because Scott seems to think that RFK Jr., who says things like this, is more credible than people who have degrees.
I literally didn't say
in
that.
the subject.
But watch, I didn't say.
But watch,
why are you saying I said that? I didn't say that.
When I was a kid, and I know what a healthy child is supposed to look like. I'm looking at kids as I walk through the airports today, as I walk down the street, and I see these kids that are just overburdened with mitochondrial challenges, with inflammation. You can tell from their faces, from their body movements, and from their lack of social connection. And I know that that's not how our children are supposed to look.
Science. Hashtag science.
Man, Scott Jennings. I mean, it's tempting to just say he's a moron, but nobody is that short-sighted. The cynicism of being like, you know what, I'm going to disqualify this whole guy's argument because I don't like that he said pregnant people. And what was he supposed to say? Pregnant women? Are women not people? You know, and Abby Phillip, I think, nails it when she points out, is like, of all of this stuff, the cancer research, the children, all of it, the most important thing to you is this perceived wokeness of the use of the word. I mean, it's just so cynical. And disingenuous is a word I use to describe Scott Jennings a lot, but I really feel like this takes the cake. Just to avoid the entire argument and say, this medical professional is not credible to me because he said a word. He didn't even lean into it. He just said pregnant people who are pregnant. He didn't say pregnant men, Scott, but that's what you heard, I guess. I don't know. And, CNN has this guy on, and I think Abby Phillip does a reasonable job of handling him like an adult, but it's just absolutely bonkers to me. And what's going on with RFK Jr. in this recent hearing where Bernie Sanders said, so everybody's corrupt except you, is that it? I mean, you really saw the insanity on full display there, the paranoia, the conspiracy theorist mentality that has taken root like a worm in his brain. And this is medical research. This touches all of our lives, even the lives of the ultra rich and their children and their loved ones. I'm sure that the ultra rich can afford to fly off to some other country and get great health care if they want. But even if you feel that you're exempt from this touching you, do you not see how we all live in a society? It's going to negatively impact society. I can't get my head around it, man. I can't get my head around it. Scott Jennings and some of these other MAGA talking heads with their smirking and their smug, like, what? I can't believe you. It's just, I know it's designed to be infuriating, but I can't not get triggered by it. It's the willful and deliberate stupidity is, it's just flabbergasting.
This is why Ajiz Shah said, this is wacky flat earth voodoo stuff. Please, Peter Hotez, please send a few introductory biology textbooks to the Department of HHS. The reason, Scott, I said what I said is because rather than you seriously answering a question about the real concerns that were raised by these officials about the bending of science to the will of that guy, you decided that the most important thing to you was their lack of credibility because they used the word people. I just think I understand the rhetoric and the political.
You realize that you're accepting some politicization of science, but not others, right?
What's the politicization of science that's been accepted?
Can men get pregnant or not?
Scott,
if you're in the CDC and you believe that, I'm saying you're not a terribly credible person.
The CDC that is responsible for the health and well-being of the nation.
That has absolutely nothing
to do with
it. It does, because it's a question of whether your scientists are going to politicize or not, and you accept some and not others.
To do with the conversation that we are having.
That's just the stuff.
I disagree. It's a credibility.
Why would we do that when people have died and are dying? Why would we do that when people's children are being dehumanized?
In this country about real things when everything just becomes about buzzwords
or political products.
I don't understand why you're rejecting this criticism of someone's credibility.
Yeah, because I think that what matters to people in their homes is whether or not they know what immunizations their child should have, which, by the way, immunizations have saved so many lives.
I'm not disagreeing with you about that. I agree.
What matters to them around the world is not what words are being used
I think it does matter,
by people.
Because it tells me what kind of person it is.
So real quick, Scott Jennings here says, the words that the guy used matter because it tells him what kind of a person he is, Scott Jennings asserts. That's his argument. When we have a president who is just mean. Let's look at the words that the leader of our country you so blindly support uses. Does that not tell us what kind of person he is? Well, no, MAGA doesn't... Well, not him. He's just trolling you. Oh, but those are the words that he uses, Scott Jennings. Those are the words. It's the double standard that you see again and again. But this guy with his smirking reactions and his little eyebrow level, what? How can you? I don't understand how you. It's all an act. I think he's done it so much he must have started. But nobody is that dumb
is whether or not they can trust that the guy who's making decisions about their health actually knows what a mitochondria is.
Yes, and when we focus on, imbecilic things such as that, that's why people are then subject to misinformation and disinformation, and they resort to violence, Scott. There was just it's not violence. This is not a laughing there was a shooting at the CDC.
There's attacks on ICE agents every day. Who's responsible
officer
for that?
is
You seem
dead.
to reject the idea
There
that
are people rejecting the fact that people are
now you're blaming this.
I think
Scott, you guys cherry pick these things like
we don't cherry pick.
Hold on a second, Scott. There's nobody who's justifying attacks against ICE officials. And nobody should justify or diminish somebody shooting hundreds of bullets into a workplace where people
are trying to save lives, where people are practicing public health.
So I don't understand why that would even be a comparison that you would make, honestly.
Because it's a great way to not answer the question.
Bingo. It's a great way to not answer the question. And that's the whole thing. You put on a snappy suit and you make that same face again. And you go, what? We're talking. I don't understand. This is your standard, not mine. What about ICE? What about people attacking ICE? It's all what about and redirect and deflect and sound reasonable, even though the logic pretzel these people are having to tie themselves into to justify this stuff gets crazier and crazier, right? I mean, this administration is incredibly unpopular, and they are ramping up this tightening of the fist and troops in states and deploying ICE like a personal police force for Donald Trump. And the Scott Jennings of the world are out here trying to make it all sound normal. That's getting increasingly difficult. And I think this is a perfect example of that. Like, there isn't a bead of sweat running down his temple. But I imagine that is, I agree with you. I don't like violence. But it's the same broken record of bullshit. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I don't think Abby Phillip is responsible for having hired Scott Jennings. I think CNN puts him on there for the sort of point-counterpoint piece of it. But I find, maybe he's good TV because he gets a rise out of me for sure. What do you think? I mean, what do you think of Scott Jennings? Am I misjudging Scott Jennings? I've been doing a lot of Abby Phillips. I've gotten kind of into this show, and I think she does a good job. Let me know what you think in the comments.